Sarah Jensen drove her black Audi down the highway as the sun was setting. The sky had pretty colors of orange and red. People in town called her Black Widow because she always wore black clothes. She started wearing only black after her husband died 5 years ago. Sarah did not mind the nickname much. She knew small towns like to give people labels. She saw blue and red lights flashing in her mirror. Sarah sighed and pulled her car to the side of the road. She was only going a little bit over the speed limit. The police car stopped behind her. Sarah knew the officer who would come to her window. It was Officer Dawson. He had a bad habit of being rude to women drivers. Sarah rolled down her window and waited. Officer Dawson walked up with that smile on his face. It was not a nice smile. It was the kind that made people feel small. He leaned down to her window. His hat made a shadow on his face. "License and registration, please, ma'am," he said in a bored voice. "Do you know why I pulled you over today?" Sarah looked at him and said, "I might have been going a little fast. My mind was somewhere else. I just left the hospital." Officer Dawson did not seem to care about her words. His smile stayed the same. He had heard all kinds of stories from drivers. None of them made him change his mind about giving tickets. "I need your registration too," he said and tapped on her car door with his pen. Sarah nodded and reached across to open her glove box. As the small door fell open, Officer Dawson saw what was inside. His face changed right away. The smirk went away. His eyes got big with surprise. In the glove box was not just car papers. There was a small framed police badge. Next to it was a folded American flag in a special case. "That was my husband's," Sarah said in a quiet voice. She saw how the officer reacted. "Officer Michael Jensen. He was a police officer for 15 years. Officer Dawson's face got pale. He looked like he had seen a ghost. "You're Mike's widowed," he said. His voice was different now. It had respect in it. "He trained me when I first joined the police." Sarah nodded and got her registration paper from beside the badge. "He always kept his first badge here in the car. He said it reminded him why he became a police officer every time he got in." Her fingers touched the frame gently before she closed the small door. "I didn't know who you were," Officer Dawson said. He was standing up straight now. "Everyone calls you the Black Widow, and I never made the connection." He looked sorry about the nickname people used for a police officer's widow. Sarah gave him her license and the car papers. "It's okay. I know what they call me. I just never wanted to wear bright colors after Michael died while working." Officer Dawson looked at her papers, but his mind was somewhere else. "Officer Jensen saved my life once," he said. His voice had feeling in it. "We were answering a call about a fight at a house. The man there pulled out a hidden gun. Your husband pushed me out of the way. I never got to thank his family properly." Sarah felt tears coming to her eyes. It had been a long time since anyone told her a new story about Michael. "He never told me about that," she said. "That was how Michael was. He would never brag about helping someone." "Ma'am, I'm not going to give you a ticket today," Officer Dawson said. He handed back her license and papers. His face was serious now, not smug like before. "But I would like to ask you something. We are having a special service next month to honor police officers who died. The police department would be very happy if you would come as our special guest." Sarah felt something change inside her. For 5 years she had stayed away from police events. They made her too sad. But maybe it was time to go back. Maybe it was time to be with the police family that had meant so much to Michael. "I think I would like that," she said. Even she was surprised by her answer. "Michael would want me to be there." Officer Dawson nodded and stepped back from her car. "We also meet every Thursday night at Miller's Cafe. Just a few officers sharing stories. You would be welcome there too, Mrs. Jensen. Some of the officers would love to tell you about how your husband helped them learn to be good police officers." As Sarah drove away, she looked in her mirror. Officer Dawson was not smirking anymore. He stood by his police car with his hand raised in a respectful salute to her as she left. That evening, Sarah opened her closet door and looked at all the black clothes she had worn for 5 years. Hidden in the back was a dark blue dress. She had bought it with Michael for their last anniversary before he died. He always said it made her eyes look more blue. 2 days later, Sarah walked into Miller's cafe wearing that blue dress. The group of police officers at a big table stopped talking when they saw her. Officer Dawson stood up right away. "Mrs. Jensen," he said with real warmth in his voice. "Can I call you Sarah?" "Sarah is fine," she said with a small smile. "I thought it was time I heard some stories about my husband from the people who worked with him." The officers made room for her at their table. At first they were quiet, not sure what to say. Then one older officer with gray hair started to talk. "Your husband saved my life too," he said. "Not by pushing me out of danger, but by talking to me when I was having the worst time in my life. My wife had left me. I was drinking too much. I was thinking about ending it all. Mike came to my house one night. He just showed up, said he had a feeling I needed a friend. We talked all night. He helped me see that life would get better. I've been sober 10 years now." Sarah felt tears in her eyes, but these were different from her usual sad tears. These were tears that came from hearing how much her husband had meant to others. Another officer spoke up. "Mike taught me everything I know about being a good cop. He said the badge wasn't about power. It was about service. He lived that every day." As the night went on, Sarah heard many stories about Michael. Some made her cry. Some made her laugh. She heard about his terrible jokes that made everyone groan. She heard about how he would buy coffee for homeless people on cold mornings. She heard about the time he talked a young man out of jumping off the bridge outside of town. For the first time in 5 years, Sarah felt connected to Michael in a new way. Not just through her own memories, but through the lives he had touched. As she drove home that night, she realized something. The glove box with Michael's badge had done more than just surprise Officer Dawson. It had opened a door for her back to life. The next morning, Sarah woke up feeling different. She had slept better than she had in years. The stories about Michael from his fellow officers had given her something she didn't know she needed. She had always known Michael was a good man and a good police officer, but hearing how he had touched so many lives made her feel proud in a new way. She got out of bed and went to her closet. She pushed all the black clothes to one side. The blue dress hung alone on the other side. Sarah stood looking at it for a long time. Then she picked up her phone and called her sister. "Jenny, I need to go shopping," she said. "I need some new clothes." Her sister was quiet for a moment. "New clothes? You mean not black clothes?" "Yes," Sarah said. "I think it's time for some color again." Jenny came to pick her up an hour later. When she saw Sarah, she had tears in her eyes. "You're wearing the blue dress," she said. "The one Michael loved." Sarah nodded. It felt right today. The sisters spent the day at the mall. Sarah bought a green sweater, a red shirt, and even a bright yellow dress, colors she had not worn in 5 years. As they were eating lunch, Jenny asked the question, "What changed, Sarah? Yesterday you were still all in black. Today you're buying yellow dresses." Sarah told her about being stopped by Officer Dawson, about him seeing Michael's badge in her glove box, about going to meet the officers at the cafe. "I've been holding on to the sad part of losing Michael," she said, "but last night I got to hear about all the good he did, all the lives he touched. It made me realize that by only wearing black, I was only honoring the loss, not the life he lived." On her way home, Sarah stopped at the grocery store. As she was checking out, the young man at the register looked at her with wide eyes. "Mrs. Jensen, is that you?" Sarah looked at his name tag. Tommy Wilson. She remembered him as a trouble-making teenager. Michael had caught him shoplifting once. "Yes, Tommy, it's me," she said. "You look different," he said. "It's not just the blue dress. You look happier." Sarah smiled. "I am a little happier today." Tommy bagged her groceries carefully. "Your husband changed my life, you know. After he caught me stealing, he could have taken me to jail. But he didn't. He took me to his car, and we talked for an hour. He said he saw something good in me, that I was better than my choices. No one had ever said that to me before. He helped me get this job. I'm taking classes at community college now, too. Sarah felt that warm feeling again. Another story she had never heard. Another life Michael had touched. He would be very proud of you, Tommy, she said. When she got home, Sarah went straight to the small desk in her living room. She opened the drawer and took out a card. It was from the police department. They had called many times over the years asking her to speak at events for fallen officers. She had always said no. Too painful. Too hard. But now she picked up her phone and dialed the number. "This is Sarah Jensen," she said when someone answered. "Michael Jensen's widow. I understand you have a memorial service coming up next month. I'd like to speak at it if that's still possible." The police station was busy when Sarah walked in the next week. She had called ahead to make an appointment with the chief. Officer Dawson saw her first. "Mrs. Jensen," he said with a warm smile. "The blue dress suits you." "Thank you," she said. Today she was wearing the green sweater she had bought with Jenny. "I'm here to see Chief Wilson about the memorial service." Officer Dawson walked her to the chief's office. People stopped what they were doing to look at her as she passed. Some of them had known Michael. Some had come to the police force after his death. But they all knew who she was. Chief Wilson stood up when she came in. He was a big man with a kind face. He had been Michael's friend for many years. "Sarah," he said, and came around his desk to hug her. "It's so good to see you, and in color too." He stepped back and looked at her green sweater. "Michael always said green was your best color after blue." Sarah smiled. "Did he? He never told me that." They sat down and talked about the memorial service. The chief wanted her to speak about what it meant to be the wife of a police officer, about the worry when they went to work each day, about the pride in what they did. "I can do that," Sarah said, "but I'd like to do something else too. Officer Dawson told me that Michael saved his life. Then at the cafe I heard from other officers about how Michael helped them. And yesterday a young man at the grocery store told me how Michael changed his life too. I'd like to collect more of these stories. I'd like to share them at the service." Chief Wilson's eyes lit up. "That's a wonderful idea, Sarah. Michael touched so many lives here. Not just his fellow officers, but people in the community too. I can help you find people who might have stories to share." Sarah left the police station with a new project. She had a list of names and phone numbers. People to call. People who might have stories about Michael. Her first call was to Mrs. Ellis, an old woman who lived alone. Chief Wilson said Michael used to check on her often. The old woman cried when Sarah called. "Your husband was an angel," she said. "After my Frank died, I was so alone. The other officers would drive by on patrol, but Michael would stop. He'd come in for tea. He fixed my leaky sink once. When I fell and couldn't reach the phone, he found me because he noticed my curtains were still closed at noon. He said that wasn't like me." Sarah wrote down the story in a notebook. She made more calls. A teacher told her how Michael talked to her class about bullying, and one boy came forward later to get help. A store owner told her how Michael helped him when some teens were stealing from his shop. Every story showed a side of Michael that Sarah knew, but in a new way. His kindness, his belief that people could be better, his way of seeing what others needed. That evening, she went to her car and opened the glove box. She took out Michael's badge and the folded flag. She held them both and cried. But these were healing tears. She was crying for the man she had loved and lost. But she was also crying with pride for who he had been to so many others. The weeks before the memorial service went by quickly. Sarah spent her days collecting stories about Michael. In the evenings, she often met with officers at Miller's Cafe. She was no longer just Michael's widow to them. She was becoming Sarah, a friend who understood what their lives were like. She had collected over 50 stories. Some were big stories of how Michael had saved lives or stopped crimes. But many were small stories. Michael bringing hot coffee to a homeless man on a cold morning. Michael sitting with a scared child while waiting for social services to arrive. Michael talking to a teen who was heading down a bad path. Sarah also went through old boxes of Michael's things. Things she had packed away because they hurt too much to look at. his medals and awards, pictures of him in uniform, letters of thanks from people he had helped. One evening as she was going through a box, she found a small notebook. She opened it and saw Michael's handwriting. It was a journal he had kept. She had never known about it. With shaking hands, she began to read. Helped Mrs. Ellis with her groceries today. She's having trouble with her arthritis. Need to check on her more often. Talk to that Wilson kid again. He's smart but angry. His dad left and his mom works 2 jobs. He needs someone to believe in him. Caught him stealing but didn't take him in. Talk to him instead. I think he listened. Sarah's heart beat fast as she turned the pages. This was Michael's private record of the people he had helped. Not the big police cases, but the small human moments that had mattered to him. The last entry was from the day before he died. Jenkins seems nervous on patrol. Need to talk to him about staying calm in tense situations. Showing fear can make things worse. We'll take him for coffee tomorrow and have that talk. Jenkins, that was Officer Dawson's first name. Michael had been planning to help him the very next day. Sarah called Officer Dawson that night. Can you come over? I found something I think you should see. When he arrived, she showed him the journal entry. His eyes filled with tears as he read it. I was scared on patrol that day, he admitted. It was only my 2nd month on the job. I didn't know what I was doing. The next day was when we answered the domestic call. The one where he pushed me out of the way. If we'd had that coffee talk, maybe things would have gone differently. Maybe he would have told me what to do instead of having to save me. Sarah put her hand on his arm. Or maybe not. Michael did what he did because that's who he was. He protected people. It's what made him a good officer and a good man. Officer Dawson nodded slowly. I spent 5 years trying to be the kind of officer he was, to help people the way he did. Some days I think I'm getting there. Other days I'm not so sure. I think he would be proud of you, Sarah said. From what I've heard, you're carrying on his way of policing. With heart. After Officer Dawson left, Sarah sat with the journal for a long time. She had found a new piece of Michael. A window into how he had seen his work. Not just as enforcing laws, but as helping people. One small kindness at a time. The day of the memorial service came. Sarah woke up early. She laid out her clothes carefully. Not black today. She chose a dark blue suit. Professional, but not somber. Michael had always said police memorials should honor the life more than mark the death. She drove to the big church where the service would be held. Police cars from all over the state filled the parking lot. Officers in dress uniforms stood in groups talking quietly. Many of them had never met Michael, but they had come to honor a fallen brother. Chief Wilson met her at the door. Are you ready for this? He asked gently. Sarah nodded. I think I am. Inside the church was full of people. Police officers in the front rows. Community members behind them. All the people who had shared stories with Sarah were there. The service began with music. Then, Chief Wilson spoke about sacrifice and service, about the risks police officers take every day. Sarah sat listening, feeling calm. When it was her turn to speak, she walked to the podium with steady steps. My name is Sarah Jensen, she began. 5 years ago, I lost my husband, Officer Michael Jensen, when he was killed in the line of duty. For 5 years, I wore only black. I wrapped myself in grief. I became known as the Black Widow. She paused and looked out at the sea of faces. But something happened recently that changed that. A traffic stop. A police officer saw my husband's badge in my glove box. That moment opened a door for me. But door back to life. Back to color. Sarah told them about collecting the stories, about learning new things about the man she had loved. I'd like to share some of those stories with you today, she said, not to make us sad about what was lost, but to celebrate what Michael gave to all of us while he was here. She read from her notebook, story after story of Michael's kindness and courage, of small moments that had changed lives. As she read, she saw heads nodding, tears being wiped away, but also smiles of recognition. When she finished, there was a deep silence in the church. Then Chief Wilson stood up. Others followed. Soon, everyone was standing, not in sadness, but in respect, in recognition of a life well lived. After the service, many people came to talk to Sarah, to thank her for her words, to share yet more stories about Michael. She listened to each one, adding them to her mental collection. Officer Dawson found her as the crowd was thinning. "That was beautiful, Mrs. Jensen. I mean, Sarah, you honored him perfectly." "Thank you," she said. "I've been thinking about something. Michael kept that journal of the people he helped. I'd like to continue it somehow, to record the good that police officers do in our community, the small things that don't make the news but that change lives. Would you help me with that?" Officer Dawson's face lit up. "I'd be honored. We could start a program, maybe call it the Jensen Project, a way for officers to share the human side of policing." Sarah nodded. "I'd like that. It would be a living memorial to Michael, not just about how he died, but about how he lived." As she drove home that evening, Sarah felt lighter than she had in years. The memorial service had not been an ending. It had been a beginning. A month after the memorial service, Sarah sat in a small office at the police station. It had once been a storage room, but Chief Wilson had cleared it out for what was now called the Jensen Project. On the walls were pictures of Michael in uniform. His badge was in a frame on the desk. Sarah was typing on a laptop, entering stories into a database. Stories of police officers going above and beyond their duties to help people. Stories that would never make the news, but that mattered deeply to those involved. Officer Dawson came in with coffee for both of them. He had become a regular visitor, helping Sarah organize the project. "How's it going today?" he asked. Sarah smiled. "Good. I got a lovely email from a woman in the next county. Her son was caught breaking into cars. The officer who arrested him could have just processed him through the system. Instead, he talked to him, learned he was trying to get money for his sick mother, and connected the family with social services. The boy is doing community service now instead of sitting in juvenile detention." "That's exactly the kind of story Michael would have loved," Officer Dawson said. "Police work at its best." The Jensen Project was growing faster than anyone had expected. Officers from all over the state were sending in their stories. Sarah was planning a newsletter. Chief Wilson had talked about expanding it into a formal program for new officers. Sarah's phone rang. It was Jenny. "Turn on the news," her sister said without greeting. "Channel 5 right now." Sarah grabbed the remote for the small TV in the corner of the office. She turned it on just in time to see a reporter standing outside the police station. "We're here to learn more about the Jensen Project," the reporter was saying. "A program that highlights the human side of policing. Named after fallen officer Michael Jensen, it collects stories of officers going beyond the call of duty to help community members." The camera panned to show Chief Wilson. "The Jensen Project reminds us all what good policing is about," he said. "It's not just about enforcing laws. It's about serving the community, about seeing the human beings behind the problems we encounter." Michael Jensen understood that better than most. His widow Sarah has turned her grief into something that helps us all remember the heart of our mission. Sarah watched with wide eyes. She had no idea the news would be covering the project. "We've had interest from police departments in 3 states, Chief Wilson continued. "They want to start similar programs. The Jensen Project is changing how we think about police work." Sarah turned off the TV with shaking hands. "I had no idea," she whispered. Officer Dawson was grinning. "Chief wanted it to be a surprise. The governor called this morning. He wants to make the Jensen Project a statewide initiative. There's talk of funding for a full-time coordinator." "A full-time coordinator?" Sarah repeated. "Who would that be?" "They're hoping it will be you," Officer Dawson said. "No one understands the heart of this project better than you do." Sarah sat back in her chair, trying to process what she had just heard. From a chance traffic stop to a statewide program. From a widow in black to a woman with purpose. The journey had been so unexpected. "What do you think?" Officer Dawson asked. "Would you want to do it?" Sarah looked at Michael's badge on the desk, at his smile in the photos on the wall. "Yes," she said. I think I would. It feels right somehow. Like this is what I'm supposed to be doing now. That evening, Sarah drove home with her mind full of plans. As she pulled into her driveway, she noticed a police car parked across the street. Officer Dawson got out and walked toward her. He was not in uniform. "I hope you don't mind me stopping by," he said. "I wanted to talk to you about something." Sarah invited him in. They sat in her living room with cups of tea. "What did you want to talk about?" she asked. Officer Dawson looked nervous. "This is going to sound strange, but I feel like I've come to know Michael through all your stories, through the Jensen Project, and I've come to know you too. I was wondering if maybe sometime you might like to have dinner. Not as police officer and program coordinator, but as friends." Sarah looked at Officer Dawson with surprise. His question about dinner hung in the air between them. She had not thought about dating anyone since Michael died. The idea felt strange, but not wrong. "I think I would like that," she said finally. "As friends." Officer Dawson looked relieved. "Good. That's good. Maybe this weekend." They made plans for Saturday night. After he left, Sarah sat thinking about this new turn in her life. Was she ready to have dinner with another man? Even just as friends? She went to her bedroom and looked at the picture of Michael on her nightstand. "What would you think about this?" she asked the smiling face in the photo. She could almost hear his answer. Michael had always told her that life was for living, that happiness should be grabbed with both hands. Saturday came and Sarah found herself feeling nervous as she got ready. She chose a simple red dress, another new purchase since she had started wearing colors again. Her doorbell rang at exactly 7. Officer Dawson stood there in nice pants and a blue shirt. He held flowers. "These are for you," he said. "And please call me Jenkins. Officer Dawson seems too formal for dinner." "Jenkins," Sarah said, trying out the name. "Thank you for the flowers. They're lovely." He took her to a nice restaurant by the lake. They talked about many things. About the Jensen Project, of course, but also about books they had read, movies they had seen, places they had traveled. Sarah found herself laughing more than she had in years. "Can I ask you something?" Jenkins said as they were having dessert. "How did you and Michael meet?" Sarah smiled at the memory. "I was a nurse in the emergency room. He brought in a little boy who had been in a car accident. The boy was scared and Michael stayed with him even after his shift ended. I saw a police officer who cared more about that child than about going home. That's when I knew he was special." "That sounds like the Michael I've come to know through your stories," Jenkins said. As the evening went on, Sarah realized something. She was enjoying herself, really enjoying herself, not just going through the motions, and she didn't feel guilty about it. At her door, Jenkins thanked her for a nice evening. "I'd like to do this again sometime," he said, "if you would." Sarah nodded. "I would like that." Over the next few months, they had dinner often. Sometimes they went to movies. Once they drove to the city for a concert. They were building a friendship that felt comfortable and right. The Jensen Project kept growing too. Sarah accepted the job as full-time coordinator. She had an office at the main police headquarters now. She traveled to other cities to help them start similar programs. One of those trips took her to the state capitol. She was invited to speak to a group of new police cadets about the human side of policing, about seeing people, not just problems to solve. After her talk, a young woman in a cadet uniform came up to her. "Mrs. Jensen," she said shyly, "I wanted to thank you. My dad was a police officer. He was killed when I was 12. For years I was angry about losing him. But your project helped me see his work differently. It helped me decide to become an officer too, to carry on what he believed in." Sarah hugged the young woman. Another life touched. Another circle completed. When she got home from that trip, Jenkins was waiting at the airport. He had become the person she called when her plane landed, the person she shared good news with first. "How did it go?" he asked as they walked to his car. "Really well," she said, and told him about the cadet. "It feels like the project is taking on a life of its own now." He took her hand as they walked. It felt natural. Right. Michael would be so proud of what you've created, he said. I think he would, Sarah agreed. It honors who he was, not just as an officer, but as a person who cared. A year had passed since that traffic stop when Officer Dawson had seen Michael's badge in Sarah's glove box. A year of big changes. The Jensen Project was now in police departments across 5 states. Sarah had a staff of 3 to help her manage it all. She traveled often speaking about community policing and the importance of the human touch in police work. Her relationship with Jenkins had grown too, from friendship to something more. They saw each other several times a week. They had met each other's families. They enjoyed the same books and movies. They both loved hiking in the mountains outside town. Sarah wore colors all the time now. Her closet was full of blues and greens and reds. The black clothes were long gone, donated to a women's shelter. She still had the Black Widow nickname in town, but now it was said with respect, not pity. Today was a special day. It was the 5-year anniversary of the Jensen Project. A celebration was planned at the police headquarters. People were coming from all over the country. Police officers, community members, families who had been helped, all to mark what had grown from one officer's way of serving his community. Sarah stood in front of her mirror getting ready. She was wearing a new blue dress, the same color as the one she had worn to Miller's Cafe that first night, the night she had started to come back to life. Jenkins came to pick her up. He was in his dress uniform for the ceremony. You look beautiful, he said when she opened the door. Thank you, she said. I'm nervous about today. Don't be, he assured her. Everyone is coming to celebrate what you've built. The police headquarters was transformed for the event. Pictures from Jensen Project programs around the country lined the walls. Videos played showing officers helping community members in countless small ways. A book of collected stories sat on display. Sarah had published it last month. All proceeds went to a fund for families of fallen officers. Chief Wilson, now retired, gave the opening speech. He told the story of Michael Jensen and how he had policed with his heart. How his widow had turned grief into purpose. How the Jensen Project was changing police departments across the country. When it was Sarah's turn to speak, she looked out at the crowd. So many faces, so many lives touched by what had started as a simple collection of stories. 5 years ago, I was known as the Black Widow, she began. A woman defined by loss, by the husband she had lost, by the grief she wore like a uniform. Then one day I was pulled over for speeding. The crowd laughed softly. Everyone knew this story now, how Officer Dawson's smirk had changed to respect when he saw the badge in the glove box, how that moment had opened a door. That traffic stop changed everything for me, Sarah continued. It led me back to the police family my husband had loved so much. It led me to collect stories about how Michael had touched lives. And that collection grew into what we celebrate today. The Jensen Project, a reminder that good policing is about heart, about seeing the people we serve as human beings first. She looked at Jenkins standing at the side of the stage, at Chief Wilson in the front row, at all the faces who had been part of this journey. Michael kept a journal of the lives he touched, she said, a private record of the people he helped. He never did it for recognition. He did it because he cared. That spirit is what the Jensen Project celebrates. The small moments of kindness and connection that change lives. After the ceremony, Sarah mingled with the guests. So many people wanted to share their stories with her, to thank her for what the project had meant to them. As the crowd thinned, Jenkins found her. Come with me, he said. I want to show you something. He led her to her office. On her desk was a small wrapped box. What's this? She asked. Open it and see, he said. Inside was a beautiful silver bracelet. It had a small badge charm and the words, "The Jensen Project," engraved on it. It's lovely, she said as he helped her put it on. There's something else I want to ask you, Jenkins said. He seemed nervous suddenly. We've known each other a year now. In that time, I've seen you transform from the Black Widow to Sarah Jensen, a woman of purpose and strength. I've fallen in love with the person you are. Sarah's heart beat faster as he took her hand. "I'm not asking to replace Michael," he said. "I know he will always have a special place in your heart. But I'm hoping there might be room for me too. Room for a new chapter in your life."